Hey guys, it's Aaron, or LM9, and to celebrate May 4th today, I figured I'd show you guys some of my recent custom LEGO Star Wars minifigures. Now, the primary focus is going to be on these figures from the Book of Boba Fett. I know that show has been over with for a while now, but I didn't finish these figures until sometime last month, but I decided to wait to show them off until now. So first, let's take a look at my very first statue-style figures, Boba Fett and Fennec Shand on the throne. Now, I say statue because these figures are locked in these poses. I wanted to do a statue of this because I really like that shot from the after credits of The Mandalorian Season 2, and I've also very recently made some standalone figures of these characters. Now, looking at just Boba, this figure is based off of his updated costume from the Book of Boba Fett, which is almost identical to the one in Mando Season 2. The big differences are the added battle damage, the different lower body, and a different paint job on the jetpack, which we'll see later. Now, to get Boba in his sitting position, I cut up a couple of legs, I glued the foot and the calf section to be perpendicular with the thighs, and I sculpted over the large knee gap. These legs were then glued into the hip piece at an angle outward, so it looks like, he's sitting. And then over top the knees are some sculpted knee pads. Now, the belt is a piece of painted fabric with some canisters and some brick arms pouches glued on, as well as a little belt buckle. The torso is a resin cast of my Boba Fett armor sculpt, as are the arms. These were initially hand sculpted by me, and then I had them resin casted, so I could just keep reusing the same different armor without having to constantly resculpt that. It just helps speed up this process a lot more. Now, one of the arms is just kept normal, but the other one is glued in place and then resculpted at the armpit, so that way it's resting outward more and sitting on top of the armrest. I also sculpted his little scarf, which can be seen hanging over his torso. And some little noteworthy painted details around here are the left shoulder. That's got the Mythosaur signet there. And then also his torso has the Fire Spray logo painted onto the chest. Moving up to the helmet, this helmet is a resin cast of a helmet I sculpted a while ago, and this is the reason this statue figure took so long to finish. I had one caster working on, casting a bunch of these helmets for me, but I haven't heard from him in like a couple of months, so I had, the master sculpt, so I sent that over to another caster who was then able to make up a whole bunch of different copies of this very quickly, so I really, really appreciate that to him. Now, the helmet, like all of the other armor, was then painted by me. I'm personally a big fan of the battle damage and the black blushing I was able to achieve here. Now, with him out of the throne, we can also see the little makeshift skirt piece dangling over his waist, as well as the holster on his thigh. Now, since he's out, let's take a look at the throne itself real quick. This throne piece was modeled and printed by my friend Benson Bone over on Instagram. All I did was just paint this thing up. Now, to get Boba in here, all I have to do is just plop him in. However, I did insert a little magnet into the side here so Fennec can magnetically attach. Now, if you guys remember, I talked in my Mando Season 2 custom figure video back, last year, that I wasn't 100% pleased with my Fennec figure, and I wanted to redo her. So here is round 2 for Fennec Shand. Fennec, like Boba, is a statue that is locked in this pose. I bent her legs to be dangling off of the side of the throne, just, freely, and I'm honestly really, really happy with the paint job that I got on the boots. Her skirt was definitely a challenge to make since it has to lay right with the pose rather than, laying straight downward like a normal Lego waist cape. So I had to make it go flush with the pose, and I think I accomplished that pretty good from most angles. Her torso has some sanded curves on the side, a sculpted chevron for the chest, and some E-tape for her belts and the straps. I also sculpted her shoulder pieces of her torso, so she's kind of got like a broad tunic piece on. Now, the arms are some crazy arms from Crazy Bricks that are already bent, which made my job a lot easier, so I didn't have to do any manipulation with those. In one hand, she's holding up a rifle, and in the other one, she's holding her bottle of spatchka. Now, the face is new compared to my old figure. I believe this started off as a Cara Dune head as a base, and then I modified it from there. And I do think the Lego head that they used is really good in terms of the print, but I think they used the wrong flesh tone for it, so that's why I went for this one. So the face on this isn't as good as the Lego one, in my opinion, but I think I got the skin tone a little better. Now, her hair piece is a painted piece from Nate's Minifigs, and it absolutely blows my sculpted hair piece out of the water. Now, with both minifigures on the throne, I have to say I'm really, really happy with the outcome here, but that sentiment doesn't hold true for my thoughts on the show. I don't want to get too much into it, but I do think the whole series was honestly just, not good. Like, I wanted to make a Cad Bane from the show just because I love seeing him in live action, but the way he was just handled did not motivate me to really go through with it. Just overall, the show, I just didn't really care for it that much. The only decent episodes of the show were the ones with Djarin, but even then, at that point, I don't even think those episodes really qualify as episodes of the Boba Fett show. But since we're speaking of Djarin, here are some updates on my custom figure. This guy's rocking a brand new helmet sculpt of mine, which I think is better than my previous version by a lot. I don't think the sculpt is 100% there just yet, so maybe I'll get it in my 4th try of making this helmet, but I do think it is worthy enough to mention in this video. I also sculpted a cape for him, since I've been trying to practice that more, and I'm fairly happy with it. Lastly, I gave him a painted Brick Arms Darksaber, since he's been wielding that a lot more. Now that pretty much wraps it up for my figures from the Book of Boba Fett, but I do have 4 more Star Wars figures to show you guys really quickly here. Now these 4 figures are ones that I am sending to Hoodie Studios on Instagram, and they'll be for sale at his summer auctions, which start May 15th. The first is this concept of Djarin as the Mand'alor, with a much more regal paint job on it that's inspired by art done by Uzuri Art on Instagram. This guy uses a cast of my Beskar Mando armor from Season 2, and just with a different paint job, and I think it's pretty unique. The second is a Mandalorian Rifleman, which again uses some casted pieces of my sculpts. This design was inspired by some concept art of background covert members of Din's clan in Season 1 of The Mandalorian. I was a big fan of that militarized look and the red color scheme, which is why I wanted to try to translate that design into a Lego figure, just a little bit. It's not 100% accurate to the concept art, but I did take a lot from that art. Now, the third figure is this custom bounty hunter, dubbed the Ace, that is a part of the Hoodie Guild. Every customizer participating in Hoodie's auctions made a bounty hunter to be a part of this guild, so this guy was my addition. Now, the story behind him is he's like an Ace starfighter pilot who uses scavenged Imperial armor for his suit. The overall design of this guy is heavily inspired by U.S. pilots from World War II with that bomber jacket and the overall color schemes, but my favorite part about him is that shark mouth that I painted onto the helmet, which is kind of like a nod to P-51s. The last figure I made is this custom General Grievous. Now, this guy at his core is a cast of my sculpt from 2019, but I replaced all of the shoulder and the thigh joints with a different ball and socket method, so it's much more tighter, a lot more user-friendly. So I'm a lot more comfortable actually having someone else have this figure, because I know it's not just going to fall apart like my old version is. But casting this guy, I'll tell you, I know a lot of people are still interested in buying casts of this figure, and casting it has just been an annoyance, a huge annoyance. Every single caster that I've had work on this has either moved on to other things or just hasn't had time to work on them, or has just, stopped talking to me altogether, not just because of this, but just for other reasons. So it's just so hard to get them casted. And unfortunately, I just have no idea that this will ever be a reality at this point. But for this auction, I figured I'd still give the chance for someone to buy this figure if they still want it. I'm really, really happy with the updates on this, so hopefully you guys like them as well. Now, if you guys want to learn more about each of these figures, please check out my Instagram posts. A link will be in the description, just so you guys can see more angles of these guys, since I'm not going too much in depth with them in this video. But like I said, these 4 figures will be auctioned off at Hoodie Studios' summer auctions starting May 15th and going every weekend for 4 weeks. So please follow him and I if you guys want to learn more. Now that's all I have for this video. I'm slowly working on some more Star Wars figures that I hope to be done by the time Kenobi comes out this month. So here is a little teaser for that. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys later.